Today on Pots and Trowels we're going to be having a little look at rose pruning in the autumn and how to tidy them up, and that's brought to you with the support of Allett and Cobra Garden. Hello, welcome to Pots and Trowels. Well, this week we're in Malcolm and Jenny's garden. Remember, we were here in the summer looking at their wonderful herbaceous borders. Most of the flowering's finished now, the herbaceous plants are starting to die down. But I'm here today to look at roses, because this is the time when you can do a little bit of autumn rose pruning. I'm quite traditional when it comes to rose pruning. I'm a great believer that we prune them twice a year. We prune them at the end of the season to tidy them up, and then we give them their proper prune in early spring, just as growth is about to start. So what I'm going to do today is to tidy up this lovely shrub rose. It's a China rose that's been full of flowers all through the summer, lovely single flowers. It's quite tall, about 6 feet tall, and it's probably 6 or 7 feet in diameter, so it fills a big space in the garden. And what I'm aiming to do is just to reduce it in size a little bit. Now, secateurs are ideal for the job, for most pruning. If you're taking out anything a bit thicker, then I would use something like a pair of loppers. Anything thicker than my finger, don't strain with your secateurs, use a pair of loppers. But I think I can manage this with secateurs, and it's not a particularly thorny rose, so I'm not going to wear my gloves for this. But you can see here some of the growth that we've got on it. This is all the wood that's flowered this year. We've got the old flower heads on there. They would need taking off, and we've still got 1 or 2 flowers on this, and they're just hanging on. It's been quite a late season this year. Here we are, almost the middle of November, and we've still got flowers and 1 or 2 buds forming. But I think that now roses should finish flowering. I'm not one of these people that think, let's try and get a rosing flower for Christmas. They need a rest like we do when you've been busy all through the summer. So it's time to put them to bed for winter. So what I'm going to do for this pruning at this time of the year is essentially go over, do a good deadheading exercise by cutting the stems back. I'm not going to deadhead individually. I'm going to cut the stems back by about 1/4 or 1/3. So it is just a case of cutting them off like that, and then just working my way around this rose, taking them off. So this is really reducing the height, reducing the width, and that will stop the rose from blowing around in the wind and rocking the roots loose. And then come the spring we can go in there and do the proper prune. So this is going to take me quite a while to do, so you can leave me alone for a minute, Jill. Let me carry on pruning and come back to me when it's finished. So there we go, that's about it. As you can see, it's noticeably smaller. You keep looking at it and keep finding the odd little bit to snip off. But what I've done is reduced it in width, I've reduced it in height. Now, bear in mind, as I said, this isn't the final prune. This is just a tidy up at this time of the year that will stop it blowing around and rocking around. As you can see, there's quite a pile of prunings there off this one rose here. So, you know, there's a lot taken off, but there's an awful lot more. So what we'll do now is leave that. I'm going to ask Malcolm if I can come back in late February, early March time, when it's completely bare of its leaves, and then I'll give it its proper prune, and we'll take some of the dead wood out in there, some of the old wood, to encourage that new framework of growth, and then it can put on lots of new shoots and flower next summer. So that's how you would do a large one like that. Let's go and have a look at something else now though. Well, this is a lovely single flowering rose here, beautiful pale yellow, called Tottering by Gently, and this one again has put on a really late flush. This has been flowering for Malcolm and Jenny all the way through the summer, but this mild autumn has made it put on this last attempt to produce some flowers. It will be treated exactly the same. It's obviously much smaller. You know, this is sort of a hybrid tea or multi-flora size rose that normally gets to probably 2-3 feet, or sometimes just a little bit bigger. But again, what you would do with this is cut it back by about half at this time of the year. Now obviously I don't want to take these flowers off because they can see them from the house, but in a week's time when they've gone, they can be cut down, and I'll make sure Malcolm does it. But this one here is a good example. I have actually put a glove on over there. That China rose was a bit pricklier than I thought. You can see here what I'm going to do is cut down again by about a half. So all these stems that have flowered, I'm going to cut them off. Good one here to show. We're going to take it down, you can see, to a bud there by taking that off. So that just lowers the whole of the bush there, so again it doesn't blow around, and then we'll come back again in March. And finally, I just want to have a look at the climbers over there on the fence. Now with climbing roses, it's pretty much the same principle as the tidy up, but there is a difference of course between climbing roses and rambling roses. Climbing roses flower on the new wood that's made this season. So for example, if we look here, we can see that we've got some old flower heads just here, and that's been made on a shoot that was made as a side shoot from here this year. So they flower on the new growth, whereas a rambling rose has a different flowering pattern. That flowers on the previous season's growth. So if you've got rambling roses, all the long growth that they've made this summer will produce the flowers next year, and what you would do is to cut out the older growth now. These are climbing roses. So what I'm going to do with these is it's just a case of going along and pretty much doing the same. It's deadheading them and cutting back these flowering side shoots to deadhead them. So we're just going to cut them off to almost spur prune it back, if you can see what I'm doing. And this one here, so just shortening the back to deadhead them, because these are prone to blowing around in the winter gales and it can just damage them. So it is again a tidying up process. What Malcolm's always also done here is he's tried to bend some of them down. He's got some support wires on them, and that's a really good idea if you can. If you can get branches to go out fanned out like this, you get lots more side shoots. So what I would do with this one in the spring when we come back is to shorten these that I've deadheaded. They will produce side shoots and more flowers. But if you have got some branches that do need tying back, now's a good time to do it, again to stop them blowing around. And this is a good example up here, and I'm just going to prune a few of these little bits out of the way just to demonstrate it to you, because these again we would shorten all of these like that. And we've got this one that's growing here. Now this one is potentially going to get damaged in the autumn gales, so what I'm going to do with this one is just very gently bend it down and tie it into place. So for that I just need a little bit of string to do that, or some sort of tie that you've got, and I'm just going to get this branch, and you can see it's grown from there. I'm then going to just bend that down onto this wire, loop the string around the wire, and then I can just hold that into place nice and firmly like that, and then I can just tidy those up. So there you have it. I'll put another string in there, and then what I can do where we've got this growth going out the top, I could actually shorten that back a little bit as well, just to tidy it all up, so that then come the spring when we come to do the proper pruning we can get that framework. So with the climbers, it's deadheading, taking back the side flowering shoots to the main framework and structure you've got, and any long new growths that are going to flap around in the wind, just tie them in so they've got some support from the trellis or the wire, and just to create that fan shape. And that's it, it's all done then for the winter. So we will come back, as I said, in March, give them their final prune, and then they're all ready to go. Thank you for watching Pots and Trowels, and please do keep telling all your friends about it, and get out and do your rose pruning this weekend. Next week we're going to be looking at herbaceous perennials and starting to cut some back ready for winter, so we'll see you then. Bye.